Hi, welcome to my channel Mostly Knitting. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new here, I'm Tash, and this is a podcast where I talk mostly about the knitting that I've been doing, and I also put out regular tutorials. So I'm a high school maths teacher, and I also teach knitting classes at my local yarn store Skein Sisters, and I'm recording in Sydney, Australia. And it's Thursday the 26th of June, which means it's winter here. I only have 2 weeks left until the school holidays, so I'm starting to plan my crafting for the break. And I really want to do some weaving these holidays. And when I had a look at my Ravelry project pages, I realized it was 2019 when I last did any weaving. So I'm committed to warping up my loom for sure these holidays. But I did realize that I actually probably need a refresher because it's been so long. When I first started weaving, I learned a lot of great tips from a class called Rigid Heddle Weaving with Angela Tong on Craftsy, which is the sponsor of this video. Angela is an excellent teacher, and the explanations and videos were really clear and professionally produced. This is a scarf that I made out of Volmai's lace garn, and following Angela's instructions, I was able to keep my edges really neat because that can be quite tricky, getting nice tension on the edges. And also I learned how to hem stitch both at the beginning and the end, so you get this really nice finishing at the end of the fringe. So yeah, it was a great video, but I know I'm going to have to go back and watch it to remind myself because it's been so long. Craftsy offers more than just classes on weaving. It's your online resource for all things creative. Craftsy is an online community and resource where millions of crafters, makers and DIY enthusiasts find creative inspiration, advance their skills, and learn new ones along the way. Craftsy offers more than 2,000 exciting classes in over 20 popular categories like crochet, knitting, painting, photography, cake decorating, woodworking, and more. Classes are broken down into easy-to-follow lessons and are led by friendly, award-winning instructors who share their creative wisdom as they provide step-by-step demonstration. I'm planning on making my first crochet garment, the Trope Sweater by Suzanne Mueller, and that's going to involve seaming some pieces together, which I've never done before in crochet. So I'm going to watch Seaming Crochet with Lindsay Stevens before I get started on that. So Craftsy is a great place to learn new skills. The first 1,000 people to click the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49, and this offer is valid for new members only. Thanks Craftsy for sponsoring this video. Moving on to my finished objects, I just have the one this week and I'm wearing it. This is the Lyon sweater by Petite Knit, and I knit it out of Sandnes Garn Sunday, held double in the colorway Almond and Night Sky. And those are the two colors that Petite Knit uses in the sample. Now I was trying to make a decision between the largest size of the junior sweater and the smallest size of the adult, and I went with the largest size of the junior, which is 39¼ inches, but my gauge must have been a little bit tighter because it's turned out about 36 inches. So the gauge in the pattern is 20 stitches over 4 inches, and even though in my swatch I got 20, it looks like here I've ended up about 22, so it's about 10% smaller, and it's 36 inches, which is 4 inches of positive ease for me, which for me is just not oversized, but just not super fitted and tight, right? Just 4 inches of positive ease is just nice and comfortable. And yeah, I'm super, super happy with that end result. In fact, I think if 39 inches might have been just a little bit big for me. So I'm really glad that I went with that size. The things that I did do differently, because the two patterns do differ in terms of the number of rows at the neckline. So it has a folded collar, and in the adult size there's 3 more rows, both in the beginning, then you have the setup rows, and then 3 more rows. So when I say setup rows, there's 3 rows in the middle where it sort of is meant to fold over, where you slip the pearls 3 rounds in a row, and that just helps to naturally make the collar fold over a little bit because it compresses that. It really does bring it in. It compresses the rows themselves, or the rounds themselves, and I think it's a really nice result. So it's different to your normal double knitting where you knit the knit, slip the pearls, and then vice versa. In this one, you actually slip the pearls 3 rounds in a row, the same stitch, and it sort of just squishes it down. So I did follow the adult measurements for that, but I followed the junior measurements for the number of rows in a stripe. So in the adult you have 5 of the main color and 4 of the contrast, and in the junior you have 4 of the main color, 3 of the contrast. That does mean you use a little bit more of the, just in terms of fractions, a little bit more of the main colour. So I was pretty close with the main colour. This weighs 430 grams, and I bought 6 balls of the almond and 3 balls of the night sky, and I have about 13 grams of the almond left and about 39 grams of the night sky. So definitely, like, I didn't feel like I was playing yarn chicken or anything. So I did, the arm size is a little bit longer than some of my other sweaters, but I'm actually really happy about that. So it's got a little bit of room here. But that does mean, so when I knit the sleeves, they actually have, like, I wore this on Monday, today's Thursday. So this is my second time wearing it, and they've really shrunk up. So when I knit them, just and trying it on, this cuff, or the cuff came down to like my thumb knuckle. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to like fold it up. And now, as I'm wearing it, it's just sort of sitting. So instead of down here at my thumb knuckle, it's sitting up here. So that's substantial. Like that is a substantial shrinkage. I find the body doesn't do that, but the sleeves sort of do tend to do that a little bit. I don't know if that's just me, but I have heard other people say the same thing. So I'm very glad I knit the extra rows in the sleeve, and I don't feel like I need to roll them up. So because my stripes are a little bit thinner, I do have a few more rows than you might see in the pattern. A few more stripes, I should say. I have 14 stripes in the body, like from here, you know, all the way from the top down, 14 stripes, and then 21 in the sleeves. And I did do a few more decreases in the sleeves. I think I got down to 52 stitches. I just didn't want quite as wide a cuff. I want, when I push it up, that it will actually stay and also not be too baggy around my, so 52 stitches seemed quite good for me. Recommended needles of 4mm and 3.5 for the ribbing. I started by doing the tubular bind off, but I didn't like how it looked. I just didn't like it with the yarn held double. I felt it was really messy, so I just unpicked the bind off that I'd started, unpicked the 2 rows of the setup rows for the tubular, and then I think I did that on the body. By the time I got to the sleeves, I knew I wasn't going to do it, so it's just an in pattern bind off where you knit the knits and purl the pearls, and that's perfectly fine. I can do that loose enough that it doesn't cinch in too much. Let me think, anything else that was different? No, I think that's it, and I love it. It's comfortable. It's not you know, buttery soft, but it's certainly not itchy at all. It's very, very smooth. Yeah, really, really happy with it. From here down is only 11 inches, but which seems like a bit less, but when the arm size is longer, you know, so for a lot of other tops where the arm size is higher, I might do about 12.5 inches, but because this is coming down quite a bit further, 11 was totally fine. And there's my navel there. I'm just wearing it with some jeans. And yeah, really, really, really happy with it. I like the construction of it, where you you pick up these stitches along here and work down, and it kind of mimics a set-in sleeve. So as a result, like, I like where it actually falls. So it's not a drop shoulder. The sleeves don't fall down and will start down here. They actually do start, well, they're meant to at your shoulder line, the top of your shoulder. So yeah, really, really happy with that. And yes, it's great. I can see myself wearing this a lot this winter. I have 2 new works in progress, 1 sweater and 1 beanie. So I'll start with the sweater. And the sweater, I am coming up with my own pattern based on a sweater called Ophelia by the Row. So that's a commercially made sweater that's very expensive. I did a separate video, which I'll link to in the description below if you haven't already seen that. And I am trying to recreate that sweater with the details of that sweater, the oversized nature, the decreases and everything. And this is the yarn that I'm using. This is white gum wool 10 ply in the colorway Natural, which is beautiful and soft, and yeah, just gorgeous yarn, and it's perfect for this project because it's got lovely stitch definition. I'm just going to really briefly talk about where I'm up to as part of my whips here, but all of the details I'll do a separate video probably this weekend, and try to keep all of the videos around that sweater and my anything that I do related to it in its own video, just so that it's much easier to find. I'll create a little playlist just for that. So very brief here in terms of where I'm up to in my works in progress, and for more details you can just go to that video when it comes out. But if you haven't seen the previous video, I'll link to it in the description. So this is where I'm up to so far. I'm knitting it bottom up because I really like the look of the, around the neckline, the really nice decreases. They're double decreases, but they're not centered, they're leaning. So they're leaning one way or leaning this way. And across the back, there's some double decreases as well to shape the back. So instead of doing, casting off stitches and a stair-step bind off or short rows, you actually just do a bunch of decreases. So because of that, because I like the look of those decreases, I'm knitting it bottom up. And this is where I'm up to so far. So I'm not going to keep repeating all of the details, so you have to go to the other one for the actual numbers, but I'm about 11 inches up the body now. So that's the back with the 2 purl stitches, and the front looks exactly the same at the moment. It is measuring 45 inches, so 22.5 inches across. It does come in just a fraction, but when I blocked this, I didn't pin the ribbing. If I really wanted to, I could pin it down, but I do believe that the sweater does taper in just a tiny bit. So probably it only comes in about 2 inches in total. So if this is 22.5 inches across, here it's about 21.5 inches across. So I think that's fine. So this is 11 inches, and I'm getting to the point now where I'm about to start the arms, or at least split to work the front. When I say start the arms, split for the front and back, so that that's the space where the sleeves will go. And I'm using my storm sweater as a bit of a guide for length, and that sweater is, because it's another drop shoulder, is about 11 inches from here down, and then from here to here is about 9 inches, so that's going to be a total of 20 inches. And then in terms of shaping the between the top of the sleeve and between the top of the sleeve here and the top of the neckline, there's going to be about 5 inches. So it should be about 25 inches from the top of the neck down to the base. So, that's quite a bit of, I haven't actually weighed how much yarn I've used. I'm sure I'm going to have plenty because I bought a whole kilo, which is 1900 meters. So yeah, that's coming along really nicely, but yeah, it is 11 inches. And so I think I'm ready to, I feel a bit nervous actually. I feel a bit nervous at just wanting to get it right. But then when I split, again, it's just going to be straight up for a while, both the front and the back. And then I'll probably do the back. In fact, I know I'll do the back first and do that shaping first. So that's coming along nicely. What I have done, this is my swatch. I've sort of ripped it back a little bit because I don't have any balls. Like, I just have the one cone, so I don't have I'll just grab another ball and do an extra swatch. So I've actually had to rip back my swatch a little bit, and it does look a little bit crazy. What I've done is I've been practicing some different kinds of decreases, like a knit 3 together, slip 1, knit 1, pass stitch over. I'm not using the knit 3 together. Actually, I feel like I just want to talk about it now, but I'll wait and keep it in a separate video. It's quite important for me to get the decreases looking right because that is a big feature of the sweater. So I'll talk about that separately, but I'm also doing some of the swatching for the increases because the sleeves have some very rapid increases. The other thing that I'm thinking about doing is instead of doing the sleeve bottom up and increasing and then working up and sewing it in, I am thinking about maybe picking up those stitches and knitting the sleeve down. Now what that will do is have decreases at the end of the sleeve instead of increases coming up. But I feel like the shape is very dramatic and I want to have that shape, but the actual detail of whether it's an increase or a decrease, I think I'd be just as happy with the decreases, and I'd probably be happier with the result of picking up the stitches and knitting down, and happier both with the result and also just the process of doing it than actually knitting the sleeve up and then sewing it in. So I'm almost positive that's what I'm going to do because I feel like the sleeve shape is important, but the actual, whether it's an increase or a decrease, whereas up here, these being decreases, and because they're right in your face or along the sleeve line, along the shoulder line, it's very visible. I do want to do those pretty much to pattern. So for that, I'm very happy to be knitting bottom up, but I reckon I'll do the rest, the sleeves top down. My second new work in progress is another Oslo hat. So this is my 10th Oslo hat. I've definitely made this a few times and it is a favorite pattern for a reason. It's a really good pattern. It's really easy to follow and it actually just looks really nice on. I like how it wears, and it's also really warm because it has a triple fold brim. So I'll talk to you about where I'm at the moment. So I've already done if you've never knit this pattern before, it has a double fold brim, and then like I do a provisional cast on. The pattern doesn't tell you to, and you don't have to, but I prefer to. Then you sew it together. So you do a really long, I think I do about 7 inches, sew it together, do a few rows, and then you do a German short row and turn. So I've done that, and I'm actually, this is now the outside, well, I suppose it's not really the outside. This up here will be the outside of the hat, and then that's going to fold up. And I think the reason for this here is just so that when you fold it up, you don't see the purl bumps, so that when you fold it up, if it goes past it, you just see a little bit of stockinette. So, yep, going really nicely. This probably should be finished by the next podcast because I've actually done quite a lot of it already. I don't know if you can tell, but it's actually quite dense. So I'll tell you about the yarn actually. This is Biche Bush, Le Cashmere and Lamb's Wool in this really lovely dark green colour. Looks very army. And I'm holding it double. Now I started this as I usually do for the Oslo hat. I cast on a 3.5mm needle, 112 stitches. And it was so tight. It was so dense. And, I thought this yarn is, like it's got like 250 meters in a ball. I thought it's going to be, like pretty fine, but it is really lofty. And so holding it double, it was way too thick. So I undid what I'd done, restarted on a 4mm needle and 104 stitches, and it's still really dense. So if I was to use this yarn double again, I would definitely knit it on a 4.5mm needle. I'm not sure what stitch count. I'd maybe do 96 stitches. We'll see how this the size that this ends up. But I think it's just due to the yarn. So it's a woolen spun yarn. It's really lovely and soft, but it's very, very lofty. So as a result, like you can knit it at quite, like the gauge itself, you might think with such a fine yarn you've got to knit it pretty tightly, but you actually really don't. And if you do, it ends up quite dense. So I think this will be a great warm hat, and I'll take this to Bendigo, I reckon, because it's going to be cold down there, and I really don't like cold ears. So to have that triple fold and have that kind of denseness and extra layers around my ears, I think will be really good. So the yarn's really, really soft. It's lovely. I think if I was to, I'm quite keen when I finish it, I'd like to swatch it with some mohair, because I think it would be really easy to get like a 20 stitch gauge with mohair and knit one of those sort of standard fingering and mohair sweaters and get a 20 stitch gauge. The other thing that I was going to say, it actually reminds me of, because I've knit with, this is my first time knitting with the Le Cashmere and Lamb's Wool. And I should say, sorry, this yarn was gifted to me by Erica from Yarnacopia, and this is their next yarn brand that's being spotlit for the month of July. The orders haven't opened yet, but they will soon. So if I'll put a link in the description below if you want to sign up for the newsletter, so that then when orders, because it is done by pre-order, when it goes live, then you'll get notified. So this yarn was gifted to me by Erica. It's my first ever time using this yarn, and I could definitely see myself using it again because it's really lovely and soft and excellent yardage. So yeah, I think if you were doing this with a mohair for a sweater, you wouldn't need many balls of it. I just thought I'd mention to you in terms of using the Biche Bush yarn before, I have used their Le Petite Lamb's Wool, and I thought I'd show you this. I don't think I showed you this last time, but I thought I would show you. This is I haven't even been able to properly show this sweater because it was a test knit back in December 2024, and it's just never been released. So I can't really talk about the pattern because it hasn't been released yet. Hopefully at some point it will be, but I thought I'd just at least talk to you about the yarn. So this is the Cashmere and Lamb's Wool. This is just the Le Petite Lamb's Wool, which also has excellent yardage. And when I swatched with this, I thought this was so fine that I would really struggle to get the 22 stitch gauge that's needed in this pattern, but I got it easily. Like it just puffs up. So it's really good, which is what you really want for color work. You actually want it to bloom, but it also means you've got really good yardage. So I'll just show you that there. That's the Le Petite Lamb's Wool in color work. And yep, I can't really talk to you about the pattern until it gets released. I made heaps of changes anyway. Like it has garter edges, long sleeves. I made it, and it even has a rolled neckline. I'm not a good test knitter. I wanted to change everything. But anyway, Jennifer was very nice. She let me change all of these different things. I think part of the thing that sort of sold me on the pattern was I really loved the yoke. And in fact, even though this sweater has not been released, Jennifer has a huge back catalogue of really, really lovely yoke design sweaters. I think New Leaf would probably be one that kind of reminds me of this one. So if you want to go check out New Leaf, even though you can't purchase Snowbloom yet, hasn't been released yet, New Leaf, or I'll put in the description below a few other sweaters of hers that I think are sort of similar and really, really pretty. Anyway, but I thought I'd bring you this and at least show you it for the purposes of the yarn. So yep, I really am enjoying working with the cashmere and lamb's wool for the Oslo hat. But I think just be aware, it's really quite, like, you might, because of the yardage, you might think you want to knit it on a smaller needle. But yeah, you probably do want to knit it on especially if you hold it double, I would knit it on a 4.5mm. I have 4 more works in progress to share, and they're all garments. So the first one is just a small garment. In fact, it looks like the size of a hat, but it is actually the, I'll show you up nice and close. It's the Chrysler top by Pernille Larsen, and it is a twisted rib where you only twist the knits, not the pearls, and you only twist the knits every other round. So it's not sort of has a bit of a broken rib kind of texture to it. Now, one thing I am using is this little twice sheared sheep marker. What I do with that is, because I'm only twisting the knits every other round, if I'm on the top one, I know that I'm just knitting and not twisting, and then I put it on the middle loop if I'm twisting the knits. And that just, even though this is like this is a marker for increases or not increasing, and there's other ones that you can use for decreasing. Basically anything that you can visually identify it's this kind of row as opposed to that kind of row, because it is a little bit hard to tell. Like, you know, if you're looking at it, it can be a bit hard to see, well, hang on, am I knitting this, you know, these stitches are pretty little, and I'm usually knitting this when I'm on the treadmill. So I definitely want to just be able to quickly look down and see, am I twisting my knits or am I not? And the pearls are all just purled normal, thankfully, because I do not like purling through the back loop. So the yarn that I'm using is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the colourway Blood Orange. I'm knitting the smallest size. This is why I just put my tape measure across it. That is only unstretched 10 inches. So that's 20 inches around, so that's tiny. But I'm also using a slightly smaller needle. I'm using a 2.5mm instead of a 3. But I think it's going to be all right. I might get to the point where I might actually put it on a larger needle and just try it on. But if you look at that, that is super, super stretchy. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. And it's meant to be a summer top, so we'll see how we go. But yeah, that's had a little bit of, I should probably put one of those, like, you know, progress markers in so that I can actually see how much progress. One of the reasons this hasn't had as much done is I've been knitting on the Oslo hat on the treadmill, so, you know, and I can also do this on playground duty as well, because it's just, you know, I don't have to look and it's pretty straightforward. So that's my third work in progress. My next work in progress is, not that there's any order, but, you know, just the next one that I grabbed. This is the Eva cardigan by Petite Knit. I might try these next few on, and I've turned the heat off because you can hear the air conditioning through the microphone, so hopefully I won't get too cold. And this is my little tip. I really don't want to get makeup on the inside of this jumper, so I'm just going to, like, put my fingers in there and pull it out that way. So, because I don't usually wash my hand knits very often. They sort of I try to wash them only when I absolutely need to. Right, so let me just try this Eva cardigan. Where am I up to? It has not been blocked. You can see how cinched that is, but I have actually finished the bottom ribbing and I've started a sleeve. So yeah, just excuse the clanking. I've just put it on a really, the sleeve is actually large enough, I should say, to be knitting it on a small circular needle, but I get my hand in there. I put it on a large one just so I could try it on more easily. And let's see, it has a very similar construction to the Lyon sweater, where you do the back and then you pick up these stitches down here and knit down. You can see it's quite, actually has the same number of stitches as the Lyon sweater for the start of the sleeve. Yes, and I think I might do slightly more, not incredibly more rapid increases, but I might decrease down to, so I think I've got 72 stitches here. or at least at the start. I'm going to decrease down to 60 instead of 64. I think that this is also on a 20 stitch gauge, but I think I'm actually getting gauge, whereas with the Lyon, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is 20. You can see like how stretchy that is. I haven't blocked that yet, and like that's all puckering up here because I haven't blocked it. But I will probably, when I get a bit further down the sleeve, I'll block it. This is, I should say the yarn. This is Madeline Tosh. I'll show you nice and close. You can see there's some variation. Madeline Tosh Alpaca Sport in the colorway Sea Glass, so it's nice and bright. And yep, I'm just going to do, I think I'll do this sleeve, then I might do the button band, and then I'll save the other sleeve because I love the second sleeve. I just know exactly what I'm doing. And for me, I'm getting to knit on a garment, so it's like not a little project, but it feels like something that I don't have to think about. So a garment, obviously you've got, you know, how does this fit, trying it on, blah, blah, blah. Whereas once you're doing the second sleeve, you know exactly what you're doing. There is no worrying about trying it on or blocking along the way. You're just doing the same as the first sleeve. So yeah, I guess that's probably not, even though the neckband, there's probably quite a lot of knitting in that. Yeah, I feel like this could go very quickly. It just depends, do I work on this or do I work on the 50 other things that I have on the needles? Was there anything I wanted to say? No, I think that's it. Yes, but I'm very happy with this one. Oh, I should say I did alternate skeins for about the first 20 rows with some of the yarn that I held back from here, and I forgot to record it, but if people do want to see it, I'll make sure I do that. I'll record it for the second sleeve. If that's of any interest. I'm sure there's lots of videos of people alternating skeins, but I just used the yarn forward method and changed every round. It does mean it's a little bit tighter here, but you don't end up with that line up the inside. So yep, anyway, that's coming along. Two more sweaters to talk about. This one is the CP05 V-neck by Christina Ghirlanda, and I'm knitting it out of Cardiff Cashmere Prime, which is their new base, in the colorway Mose or Mose, I'm not sure. Anyway, it's this really lovely soft blue. And since last podcast, I haven't worked any further down the body, but I did pick up the stitches. I hadn't done this yet. I picked up the stitches and did the neckline. It's got a twisted rib with some decreases here. I haven't blocked it yet. You're actually meant to, so this is knit on a 5mm needle. It's meant to have a gauge of 16 stitches. I'm getting 19, so I just did a couple of, I think I cast on for the smallest size, but did a couple of extra increases under the arms just to sort of get to the larger bust circumference. It's turning out, I haven't blocked it, but it's turning out about 33 inches at the moment, but I reckon it will block to about 35 because there's a bit of, yeah, I think it will just block a little bit bigger, so 35 inches, which is about 3 inches of positive ease. You're meant to pick up the stitches and do the neckline on the same size needle as the body, so a 5mm needle, but she does say in the pattern, if you like a slightly tighter, like a slightly tighter ribbing, you can go down a needle size. I actually went down 2 needle sizes to a 4mm and just followed the pattern exactly after that. And I think I picked up maybe 4 extra stitches, and maybe that's because I just knit a couple of extra rows compared to, you know, because I was sort of blending the first size with the second size by just knitting a little bit further down. So I still have to finish the body. I've just popped this on a needle, but I haven't attached it yet, ready to go. And but I sort of, like, I feel like everything's on sleeves at the moment, so it doesn't matter. Like, I just sort of wanted to have everything ready so that I can grab and go, which I do really like, because I've got my sleeve decrease sort of every whatever X number of rows ready for the Eva cardigan. For this one, you're actually meant to increase a few stitches so that it sort of becomes a bit more voluminous. I'm not sure that I'm going to do that. I think I might just pick up a couple of extra stitches under the arms like I usually do, but then not decrease them away and then just knit straight down. And then do like a gathered cuff like it's meant to be in the pattern. But yes, that's next. This is so lovely and soft. Like it's funny, I really enjoy different kinds of projects. Like my Ophelia sweater, the stitch definition is just so perfect and crisp, and the yarn is beautifully soft. This and it's much stiffer. Like I think my fabric is not quite as stiff as the actual Ophelia sweater. I think that's pretty dense, but I think mine's as dense as I feel comfortable knitting it, whereas this is totally airy and light and fluffy. Even though I am holding this double, it's a very different experience. So it's quite nice, like that my knitting, and then I've got this which is pure silk, and I've got different kinds of things to work on. I've got this, which is, the hat that's like small and portable, but it's quite dense. So depending on what my hands need, like I can't at the moment, like same with socks, if I'm knitting on something too dense, I can't just knit on that for too long. So this is quite good for like playground duty or something where I'm only there for like 20 minutes. And that's about as much as my hands can handle on something that is knit quite dense. And to be honest, if I was to do this again, I would do it on a larger needle. I don't think it needs to be that dense, but I'm certainly not ripping that back. Anyway, this one here, very easy knitting, and it's so delightfully soft. And I am actually really looking forward to finishing this because I think it would be just a beautiful, very lightweight, scrunch up, chuck in your bag. And then if it's just that little bit chilly, either at the movies or, you're out and it gets a bit windy at the beach or something, you can throw it on. Although it's probably a bit fancy for the beach, this one. But maybe more than movies. Anyway, or if you're out for dinner or something. So, so that's, I'm going to do this sleeve first, then finish the body, then the second sleeve. So, one more to go. My last work in progress that has had any attention is the Jules Genser by Sandnes Garn. And I'm on another sleeve. So I have actually finished the body. I can't remember if I'd finished the body last time, but I have finished the body. I'm a little bit unsure about the bind off. That's a little tight. I might go back and redo it if I need to. It is coming out 38-inch bust, so that is 6 inches of positive ease. But when I put my tape measure across here, that's as far as I can stretch it, is 36 inches. But I think it's okay. As long as I don't pull too hard on it, I think it's all right. So it's just got a really lovely lace yoke detail. It's so pretty. And now I'm just working down the sleeves. And I've put it again on a long circular, but because there's no sleeve decreases in this at all, it's just straight down until, knit two together right at the cuff. I can actually knit it on a small circumference circular. Not even that small, like just a 16-inch circular, 40 centimeters works fine. So, because I think there's something like 80-ish stitches. So that gets around. Now I'm holding this single. Did I already say? I probably didn't. This is Knitting for Olive, soft silk mohair in the colorway Elderflower. And this was part of the Butter Yellow knit along, but I have a feeling that's finishing up at the end of June. That's with Jessica and Rachel from Those Twins Who Knit and Liz and Paige. But so I don't think I'll get it finished in time. I mean, I could if I just cracked on and only worked on this, but I actually think I might take this to Bendigo with me because this might be, once I've finished the second sleeve at home, then I'll leave it ready to go on the needles for the second sleeve because it's so lightweight. And especially here, I don't even have to keep track of increases. The only thing I do have to do is keep track of how many rows. So I've got these little stitch markers here, not because they're did I say increases, decreases? I mean, that's just like how many rows am I doing? I should probably put like one of those markers or something on it. But anyway, at least I've got a way of keeping track of my increase, no increases or decreases. Rows, just how many rows, because I do want the two to match. I want to have the same length sleeve, but at least I don't have to think about decreases. How many rows am I due for another decrease? So I think I'm almost at the point, maybe not yet, maybe I'll do like a little bit more and then I'll block it because I do want to see how much growth it has, although remembering that all my sleeves shrink back, so I don't, I definitely don't want it sort of finishing up here. I would like it to be a full length sleeve. So anyway, that's the Jules Genser. It is, it's lovely and light and soft. And I think maybe that could be two good things for Bendigo, those two projects, because they're going to squish down. There's not a lot for me to pack. Even though I couldn't wear them in Bendigo, they'd be nice and easy travel knitting. So that's it for my my current works in progress. I do have some socks on the needles that hasn't had any attention. So that's kind of, that's it. That's quite a bit actually, and a lot of sweaters. So anyway, very happy with, I'm really enjoying all of them. There's nothing that I'm like, don't want to work on anyway. So that's my works in progress at the moment. Moving on to acquisitions and plans, I had a few patterns that were gifted to me this week, so I just wanted to share about those. One of them is the Low Tide sweater by Rachel Illsley, and that is a really beautiful sweater that has like some lace patterning down the front and down the sleeves, and it has a 23 stitch gauge. So if you held like a fingering in a mohair, you'd probably have to hold a pretty light fingering in a mohair for that to work. Or you could use a really nice yarn like the Fibre Company Road to China Light. I tend to get 23 stitch gauge, and that has a little bit of a halo, so I think that would kind of come out well in for the effect of that sweater. So yeah, and that was gifted to me by Michelle. So thank you so much, Michelle. And Michelle also gifted me, along with that, a little sock pattern called I think they're called the Frose Shorties by Nancy Wheeler. And I'm so captivated by the colors in these socks. They're so pretty. And I think I also saw somebody else, I know, Leanne from the Knitty Stew, I just saw it on Instagram. She just knit some socks by Nancy Wheeler. I can't remember the name, but I'll put it down below. And they just look so pretty. So she's obviously a really talented sock designer. So thank you so much, Michelle, for gifting me that sock pattern. So I think that's something that, and these are kind of shorty socks as well. So I could see myself making those for sure. But I just want to pick out some nice yarn. And I'd probably choose pink, actually. Two other patterns that were gifted to me was the Cardi jumper by Vert Knit, and that is it's a really pretty elegant cardi that you could sort of wear like a jumper. You can wear it reversible. So the way she's showing it is got a V neck with buttons down the front, but you could wear it in reverse with the V and the buttons at the back. It just looks really cute. So that is at a 24 stitch gauge, and that would, if you did it again with a light fingering and a mohair, you'd probably have to have a pretty light fingering for that to work on a 24 stitch gauge. But yes, so that was gifted to me by Muttiii. So thank you so much, Muttiii. That's really, really beautiful. And the last sweater is one that has been on my list for a while, and that's the Porcelain Sweater by Lene Holme Samsoe. And I have the yarn for it. I think it's the Sandnes Garn Tin Pier Gint. But I don't like the I guess the fingering weight, but I don't have a mohair to hold with it. So that is something that I'll have to purchase because I just want to kind of get the right blue and the right kind of cream. So yeah, and I just wasn't 100% sure on what to hold with it, like whether I wanted to go slightly darker in the blue or slightly lighter. I've gone for a fairly light blue, but I had some like blue mohair in stash that I thought might work, but I was a bit worried it might be a bit dark. But you know what? I should just swatch before I purchase any more blue mohair. So, but I do need to get a cream mohair for that. Anyway, that was gifted to me by someone that was completely anonymous. I don't know. It sort of just came through Ravelry and there was no note on it. So if you gifted me that pattern, I just want to say thank you very much here. Yeah, I really appreciate it because I'm definitely going to make that sweater. That one is, yeah, I've had my eye on that one for quite a while. So thank you very much. The only other acquisitions that I've made is that I didn't purchase any yarn this week, but I did go to my local op shop day before yesterday, and I got some straight needles, which might seem really crazy because I don't use straight needles very often, but these are 4.5mm needles. I am teaching like a little class at my son's school coming up, I think in about 10 days. They're having a wellbeing day for the year 7 to 10 students. And they asked parents if there was any kind of skill or some kind of class that they, you would be able to offer up for kids that might want to learn something new or do something interesting. So I thought, oh well, actually, and I actually work that day, but I have I have a late start. So I said, well, I could do a class first up, and so I've got a class of 10 students because I said. They asked me what the max was, and I thought, okay, 10 is definitely the most I could do. And they said it filled up really quickly, so I just thought I'd get a few more straight needles because I've got some Bendigo cotton, and I thought we might just like start a little washcloth, something that's pretty simple just to learn to knit. And I wouldn't start, like, especially if someone's never knit before, I would just get them to learn the knit stitch first. So we'll just do like little squares it's just a bit of a taster, right? And I do find, like I teach knitting classes at my local yarn store, and people who have had, even if they've only done it a little bit when they were younger, they just pick it up so much quicker. So it may not be something that these kids like totally dive into, but it will give them exposure to something, and some might grab on to it and, be interested in doing more, and others might file it away and maybe pick it up again later. But certainly just those little mechanics of doing it now would definitely help them later on if they ever decide to pick it up again. Anyway, I'm hoping some of them will be inspired and really enjoy it. It's not like when you learn to do something, the first thing you make is not going to be your masterpiece, right? You have to be accepting of, I'm just trying to learn how to do the skills, and then when I put it all together, this is what I could make once I've practiced a bit. Anyway, so that was my only other acquisition, and I guess that's a little bit of personal stuff thrown in at the end. Moving on to what has caught my eye, two sweaters actually, a actually both cardigans. One of them is the Scarlet Cardigan by Petite Knit, and I don't know if it's been released yet, but it's about to be released. And I think the reason it really caught my eye, it's this really lovely kind of maroony sort of colour, and that seems to be the colour of the moment, I guess, along with maybe butter yellows on the way out and maroons on the way in. And anyway, that's knit out of Double Sunday, and it does really remind me of a white gum wool colour. I'll just put a picture of it up there. It's a really lovely sort of deep plummy colour. So yes, I think I would probably choose that yarn if I was going to try to make something like that. Maybe the 8 ply. I'll have to have a look at the gauge when the pattern gets released. But yeah, very exciting. So that looks really pretty, and I could see myself using white gum wool for that. The other pattern that caught my eye is called the Gentle Longing Cardigan, very different style, by Meiju Knits, and it's in her book Entwined. So I don't know that that is actually available as a separate for purchase pattern. Maybe it will be later. Sometimes that happens with books, like when the book is first released. I don't have the book, it caught my eye probably on Instagram, and that is with a fingering and a mohair, and it just looks really lovely and ethereal. So, but I usually wouldn't buy a book for one pattern, so I'll probably have to have a look at the book on Ravelry and just see what the other patterns are. And because, like that pattern, although it's beautiful, there's probably other patterns, like I think Anne Wenzel has some really lovely patterns like that. So, and if I could just buy a single pattern rather than a whole book, unless there were like 3 or 4 things in the book, then I'd probably... Anyway, I just thought I'd share it though. It caught my eye, but it's not available for individual purchase as far as I can tell. Right, I've been talking a lot. I think that might be it for the knitting content. No sewing this week, or not even any crochet this week, although that is in the works for the school holidays, and same with weaving. So I'm hoping for some more multi-craftual stuff happening in the holidays. But at the moment, yeah, that's it for the crafting content. So before I move on to my personal stuff, if you're leaving me now, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I hope to have a video up on the weekend for my progress on Ophelia with just, well, when I say Ophelia, my version of Ophelia, which isn't a pattern, but it's, me attempting to replicate it. I hope to have a video of like my decreases that I plan to use around the neckline, and I'll show you a little bit more in my swatch with where I'm at, and hopefully I'll have even a little bit more progress, because it's Thursday now, a little bit more progress on the back. I doubt I'll be up to, because this is 9 inches, I doubt I'll be up to, although it's only half of the project, you never know, and it is going pretty quickly because I'm getting about 19 stitches over 4 inches for that. But I can see that there's like, I want to move quickly towards it, but I'm also a bit nervous about it, which I shouldn't be, right? It's not that big a deal. But yes, I hope to have a video on the weekend, at least just running through the different kinds of decreases that I plan to use for the back detail, and also for the neckline. So yes, so that should be hopefully upcoming on the weekend. And yep, I'll just move on to my personal stuff now, which should be pretty brief. I mentioned last video that I was planning to go on the train trip for the Worldwide Knit in Public Day with my Knitters Guild group, and I was sick, unfortunately. I was sick for most of the weekend. I just had a really bad cold and was feeling really rubbish. And also I think we had to be at the train station at like 8:20 in the morning, and like Thursday morning I get up at 5:30, Friday morning I get up at 5:30. I wasn't well. I just needed to sleep in. And it turned out to be quite fortunate, because my daughter had an exam in the city at 9 a.m. and she was going to have to catch public transport. It's so cold. It's like 2 degrees in the morning here. So even though I wasn't well, I offered to drive her in, because like it's different between being outside all day or just driving someone for a half-hour drive and half an hour home. So I'm glad that I was able to do that, because she was super stressed about that, because she's at uni, and just to be able to get her there without her worrying about driving to the station, catching the train in, walking to the exam. Anyway, it was nice to be able to do that, and because I didn't go to Worldwide Knit and Public Day, I was able to do that. So I just rested on the weekend. I was well enough to knit, but so that was not last weekend gone, that was the one before. Then last weekend, we had this big event at my school on the Friday night. It's like a big fete in the evening. The next day, I was meant to have classes at Skein Sisters, like 2 classes, so 5 hours of teaching that day, and I woke up with a migraine and was vomiting and I had to call in sick. And I've never done that at Skein Sisters in the morning. Like, I just can't show up, and I feel really bad about that. But then I also recognize that I'm not well and I'm vomiting. I shouldn't, nobody wants to be around me, and I'm not fit in any fit state to teach. So, but it did feel really uncomfortable for me. I'm such a person who just follows through or pushes through regardless. But I guess to some degree, being that sick, it made it an easy decision. So, and, I prayed about it because I was feeling, even though I made the call to not go, I didn't suddenly feel better. I felt terrible. But I prayed about it, and I don't know what, was definitely prayers answered. By the afternoon, I was feeling amazingly better. By 1, 2 o'clock, I was up and, nothing had happened. It was, definitely prayers answered. And I was even able to go for a walk that afternoon. And so, yes, so the whole weekend wasn't written off, but it did feel odd to not be able to teach those classes. Thankfully, everybody was able to reschedule, and I'm teaching those classes, I think, not this weekend, but next weekend. So, which is a relief, because I think that's the thing that, I feel bad about. What if people have, rearranged their schedule around that? But then I also have to recognize it's okay. You're allowed to be sick. So that's just my stuff, right? I need to figure that out. But anyway, I did the right thing. I cancelled, and the yarn store were great. They were so good about it. Of course you're not well, don't come in. We'll just call everybody, and it was totally fine. So yeah, I feel really supported there and able to do that. But yeah, I hope I don't have to do that again. It's not a good feeling. Anyway, I'm nearly finished school for the term. I've got what have I got? 6 more days of teaching. And then I actually am doing this week-long holiday program where I'll be in there a lot, but it's helping the kids get ready for their trial exams. So that's really fun. There'll be kids from all different schools coming in, and my son's going, and my friend's teaching, and her kids are coming. So yeah, it should be a really nice week. So yeah, I think I'm going to try and get, anyway, who knows what my schedule will be like. I'll just try and record when I can. But anyway, I think that's it I'm going to start rambling now. I do have that it's next Wednesday, I have that knitting class with the kids at my son's school. He's definitely not in that class. It's for the year 7 to 10s, and he's in year 12. But it's going to be fun. I'm excited. I love teaching just in general, but particularly teaching a new skill to young people. It's it's fun. And it's just nice to be able to, have other people excited about the project as well, and sort of for it to come alive for them, and for them to be like, oh, what could I make next? So anyway, I'll report back in my next regular episode with how it went. Hope everyone is enjoying their knitting, and I'll be back soon. Bye.